kind of left you hanging, didn't I? Here we go on with with Laura and Carrie. And where are they? They're on the other side of the lake, aren't they? And what did they see? They saw a wolf. And that's where I left you hanging. So here we are as we continue the chapter Wolves on Silver Lake. Wolves, more than one. But yesterday, or the last time I read, it was just one wolf. Eeks! He was looking toward her. The wind stirred his fur, and the moonlight seemed to run in and out of it. Let's go back, Laura said quickly as she turned, taking Carrie with her. I can go faster than you. She ran and slid and ran again as fast as she could, but Carrie kept up. I saw it too, Carrie panted. Was it a wolf? Don't talk, Laura answered. Hurry! Laura could hear their feet running and sliding on the ice. She listened for a sound behind them, but there was none. Then they ran and slid without a word until they came to the path by the water hole. And as they ran up the path, Laura looked back, but she could see nothing on the lake nor on the bank beyond. Laura and Carrie did not stop running. They ran up the hill to the house, opened the back door, and ran into the lean-to. They ran across that, burst through the door into the front room, and slammed it shut behind them. Then leaned against it, panting. Pa sprang to his feet. What is it? He asked. What has frightened you? Was it a wolf, Laura? Carrie gasped. It was a wolf, Pa, Laura gulped, catching her breath. A great big wolf. And I was afraid Carrie couldn't run fast enough, but she did. I should say she did, Pa exclaimed. Where is this wolf? And I was, wolf. There it is. I don't know. It is gone, Laura told him. Ma helped them take off their wraps, sit down, and rest. You are all out of breath, she said. Where was the wolf? Pa wanted to know. Up on the bank, Carrie said. And Laura added, the high bank across the lake. Did you girls go clear there? Pa asked in surprise. And ran all the way back after you saw him? And no idea you would go so far. It is a good half mile. We followed the moon path, Laura told him. Pa looked at her strangely. You would, he said. I thought those wolves had gone. It was careless of me. I'll hunt them tomorrow. Mary sat still, but her face was white. Oh, girls, she almost whispered. Suppose he had caught you. Then they all sat silent while Carrie rested. Laura was glad to be safe in the warm room with the desolate prairie shut out. If anything had happened to Carrie, it would have been her fault for taking her so far across the lake. But nothing had happened. She could almost see again the great wolf with the wind ruffling the moonlight on his fur. Pa, she said in a low voice. Yes, Laura, Pa answered. I hope you didn't join the wolf, Pa, Laura said. Well, why ever not? Pa wondered. Because he didn't chase us, Pa, Laura told her. He didn't chase us, Pa, and he could have caught us. A wild, long, wild wolf howl rose up and faded away on the stillness. Another answered it, and then silence again. Laura's heart seemed to turn over with a sickening flop, and she found herself on her feet. She was glad of Ma's steadying hand on her arm. Poor girl, you're as nervous as a witch, and no wonder, Ma said softly. Ma took a hot flat iron from the back of the stove, wrapped it tightly in a cloth, and gave it to Carrie. It's bedtime, she said. Here is that iron for your feet, and here is yours, Laura, as she wrapped another. Be sure you put it in the middle of the bed so Mary's feet can reach it too. As Laura shut the stair door behind her, Pa was talking earnestly to Ma, but Laura could not hear what he said. for the ringing in her ears. She was still scared. It made her feel funny. Ooh, the next chapter is coming now, and it's Pa Finds a Homestead. Well, we can't finish our year of reading Little House on the Prairie without Pa finding the homestead. And there's not one wolf, is there? How many wolves do you see? Two wolves? Oh, on that hill? Oh my. All right, let's find out. After breakfast next morning, Ma took his gun and set out. Pa took his gun and set out. All that morning, Laura was listening for a shot and not wanting to hear it. All morning, she remembered the great wolf sitting quiet in the moonlight that shimmered through its thick fur. Pa was late for dinner. It was long past noon when he stamped the snow from his feet in the lean-to. He came in and put his gun on the wall and hung his cap and coat on their nail. His mittens he hung by their thumbs to dry on the line behind the stove. And then he washed his face and hands in the tin basin on the bench, and before the small glass that above it, he combed his hair and his beard. Sorry I kept dinner waiting, Caroline, he said. I was gone longer than I thought. Went farther than I intended. It doesn't matter, Charles. I've kept dinner warm, Ma replied. Come to the table, girls. Don't keep Pa waiting. How far did you go, Pa? Mary asked. Better than 10 miles, all told, said Pa. Those wolf tracks led me on a chase. Did you get the wolf, Pa? Carrie wanted to know. Laura did not say anything. Pa smiled at Carrie and said, now, don't ask questions. I'll tell you all about it. I went across the lake, followed the marks you girls had made last night. And what do you suppose I found in that high bank where you saw the wolf? You found the wolf, Carrie said confidently. And Laura said nothing. Her food was choking her. She could hardly swallow the smallest mouthful. I found the wolves' den, said Pa, and the biggest wolves' tracks I ever saw. Girls, there were two big buffalo wolves at the den last night. Mary and Carrie gasped. And Massa Charles, it's too late to be scared now, Pa told them. But that's what you girls did. You went right up to the wolves' den, and there were the wolves. The tracks were fresh, and all the signs showed plain as day that they were what they were doing. It's an old den, and from their size there are no young wolves. I'd say they've been living there for some years, but they haven't been living there this winter. They came down from the northwest sometime yesterday evening and went pretty straight to that den. They stayed around it and out of it, maybe till this morning. I followed the tracks from there down along Big Slough and out on the prairie southwest. From the time they left the old den, those wolves never stopped. They trotted along side by side as if they had started on a long journey and knew where they were going. I followed them far enough to be sure I couldn't get a shot at them. They've left for good. Laura took a deep breath, as though she had forgotten to breathe till now. Ma looked at her. You are going to get away, Laura? He asked. Yes, Pa, I am, Laura answered. They didn't chase us. No, Laura, and they didn't chase you. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why they didn't. And what they were doing all that at that old den, Ma wondered. They were just looking at it, said Pa. My belief is they came back to visit the old place where they lived before the graders came in and the antelope left. Maybe they used to live here before the hunters killed the last buffalo. Buffalo wolves were all over this country once, but there's not many left now, even around here. The railroads and the settlements kept driving them farther west. One thing's certain, if I know anything about wild animal tracks, those two wolves came straight from the west and went straight back west. And all they did here was to stop one night at the old den. And I wouldn't wonder if they're pretty nearly the last buffalo wolves that'll ever be seen in this part of the country. Oh, Pa, The poor wolves, Laura mourned. Mercy on us, Ma said briskly. There's enough to be sorry for without being sorry for the feelings of wild beasts. Be thankful the brutes didn't do any worse than scare you girls last night. Isn't it all? Caroline Pa announced. I've got some news. I found our homestead. Oh, where, Pa? What's it like? How far is it? Mary and Laura and Carrie asked, excited. Ma said, That's good, Charles. Pa pushed back his plate, drank his tea, wiped his mustache, and said, It is just right in every way. It lies south of where the lake joins Big Slough, and the slough curves around to the west of it. There's a rise in the prairie to the south of the slough that will make a nice place to build. A little hill just west of it crowds the slough back on that side. On the quarter section, there's upland hay and plowland lying to the south, and good grazing on the town site, so the girls can go to school. I'm glad, Charles, said Ma. It's a funny thing, Pa said. Here I've been around this country for months and never finding a quarter section that's just exactly suited me, and that one was lying there all the time. Likely enough, I wouldn't have come across it at all if this wolf chase hadn't taken me across the lake and down along the slough on that side. I wish you had filed on it last fall, Ma worried. Nobody'll be in here this winter, Pa said confidently. I'll get out to the brook and file on that claim next spring before anybody else is looking for a homestead. Guess what? That's the end of that chapter. And the next chapter is called Christmas Eve. But I've got a feeling, unless Mrs. Smith ends up with another special place to be able to read this Little House on the Prairie book to you, maybe here and there through the summertime, this will be our last time on it. So let me tell you an idea that I have. First of all, I will show you where we ended at chapter 19, Christmas Eve. And there's a picture of Pa getting the biggest jackrabbit he ever saw for their Christmas dinner. Okay, that's page 175 is where you would start reading. So take a picture of this, keep it in your mind, or this last video so you'll remember where we left off. And you may go to your public library and borrow By the Shores of Silver Lake, and you may go ahead and finish reading the book yourself. Now, we've read all of this first part, and we only have this part left. So we are way more than half, about 2/3 of the way through By the Shores of Silver Lake by Laura Ingalls Wilder. You may borrow this book from your library, read it yourself. You can go ahead and buy the whole set. That's what Mrs. Smith did. I bought the boxed set of all 7 books, and you may read on. And beyond that, there's more stories that were written. Laura wrote, it seems like a couple of them. Her daughter, Rose Wilder, wrote a couple of more books. It doesn't follow this story, but it continues on telling you about the life of the Ingalls family and a little bit more about Almanzo's family too, Almanzo Wilder, that she marries in the next two books. She marries Almanzo. She meets him later on too. She hasn't even met him yet, has she? So it would be fun for you to read on by yourself, but I will put the bookmark here. And even though I'll probably be taking this little classroom upstairs of my house all out and back to school, most of the stuff will go back to school, and then I will probably not be reading any more to you. But I said probably, not. So if you see another one after this, woohoo, you know I found another place to read. Maybe on my front porch, maybe down in our living room. Who knows where I'll find a special place to read to you. But for now, that's it. See you later. I love you so much. Have a super duper, super fantastic summer. I'm really glad we got to spend this time together. And for one more time, see ya.